Hey everyone, Isaac here, or Senderspace, or whatever you like to call me. I'm here with my November manga haul. This is a bit of a weird one because I bought a lot of manga and light novels. Technically over 34 is what my count is looking like here, as long as that's everything I actually got. Now this includes stuff that I got in late October that I didn't report on, and most of November. It does include everything in December, obviously, so this was a big, and so I'm probably going to go through things a little quicker. And because of how I want to experiment a bit with like reading log stuff, I'm gonna, if I've read it, I'll talk about it unless I've talked about it in the reading log video that I did earlier. I don't know what that looks like. Those November reading logs are gonna, the reading log videos in general are gonna look like. I'm not super satisfied with how they're turning out and how I'm conducting them, but we'll see how things go. I might stop reading log videos altogether. Let me know in the comments if you have a preference one way or the other, or how you'd like to see them in the future. But for now, let's get to the November haul. There's a lot of them, so to keep this video somewhat short, I'm briefly just talking about them without going into a lot of specifics about it. So yeah, let's start. Alright, the first book here is All You Need Is Kill. This is the original novel that the movie Edge of Tomorrow is based off of. I know there's also a manga adaptation by it, but I believe to be the Death Note creators, though I'm not really sure about that 100%. I'm almost finished with this. It has a very different tone, very different style than the movie Edge of Tomorrow, but I love Edge of Tomorrow, and I think the book is really good right now as well. It is very different tonally. It's much more vicious and aggressive, which is why the title All You Need Is Kill is appropriate. So I'm interested in finishing up, seeing how it goes, and rewatching the movie, see if I like them both for different reasons, or if I prefer one over the other, and maybe I'll probably get the manga eventually as well, so just to complete all my understanding of the story. Alright, next up is My Lovey-Dovey Wife is a Stone Cold Killer, manga volume 1. I kind of like the really sweet stuff. I was in a spy family desert, I guess. This stuff has been out of stock for a long time, unfortunately. Thankfully, that's cleared up a bit, but I'll talk about that later. And so this one is pretty similar to the Spy Family, where there's a normal dude. He marries a assassin who he knows is an assassin, and so you kind of see their very cutesy romance with each other afterwards. It's not a very serious one. It's just very fun, very lighthearted. I like it a lot. It's not the greatest thing ever. The art's not the best I've ever read, but I like the really lighthearted, sweet romance stuff, so it's a solid one. I'll probably keep up with it. Alright, and I have the first 3 volumes of Love Me For Who I Am. This is my first LGBTQ plus manga. It's a really interesting one. This is volumes 1 through 3. Basically, the main love interest character is a gender neutral character with a straight male leading character. It's a really interesting one because I haven't read a lot of these stories before, but you kind of see the romance go between them, the insecurities from the straight male character, or previously straight, hard to tell really, and all the characters are really confused about themselves, how they feel about each other, especially as the two leads get closer, and the gender neutral person, I don't have the names unfortunately on top of my head, but you can look those up if you need to. Gender neutral person starts working at the place where the guy works. So it's a really interesting story. Again, not amazing art or anything like that, but I thought it was important because LGBTQ stories are so important and popular in the manga and light novel spheres, I think mostly manga. I kind of want to get a taste of one, and this one caught my eye, so it was interesting. I've read volumes 1 and 2 so far. I haven't read volume 3, but we'll see how that goes. Alright, next up we have is Tearmoon Empire. I talked about this in my October reading log, I believe, the last reading log video that I did. It's my favorite thing I read, I believe, in that reading log. It's a hilarious comedic story, very excellent premise. If you want to hear more about it, just check out that video. We're going to move on. Alright, and the next 3 that we have here are 3 Lovecraft adaptations, including The Mountains of Madness, split into parts 1 and 2, and The Hound. I've only read the first part, Mountains of Madness. This series stood out to me because of the amazing cover art, and also because of the amazing art inside. It's really incredible stuff. I'm not a huge Lovecraft fan. Even when I bought like an omnibus of all the short stories, I was not impressed. I thought the writing, it's like a different era, different standards, but I don't like it. I think stuff like Edgar Allan Poe holds up really well, and it's actually quoted a lot in Mountains of Madness, the first volume, which I think is really funny. Instead of quoting Lovecraft, they quote someone who's better than Lovecraft. But Lovecraft has been very influential for his ideas of cosmic horror and like deep insanity and stuff like that. So I really wanted to, because of how incredible the art is and everything like that, I think the only way I would consume these stories is through an adaptation like a movie, manga, comic, something like that, because I just really hate reading Lovecraft stories written by himself. And it's pretty solid so far. I haven't got straight into the next volume. It's kind of more of a mood piece. It's when I'm in the mood for a horror, monster, crazy thing. I'll get into it. Basically, the premise is that they go to a crew of researchers and scientists go to Antarctica, I believe. I could be totally wrong. Basically, to go and explore and to go further than anyone else ever had before with further technology, and perhaps they've explored too deep and tread upon places they shouldn't have. So yeah, pretty Lovecraftian. Of course, obviously adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's story, famous story Mountains of Madness, which I believe is a story that Guillermo del Toro has always wanted to and always try to get a movie of, like a hard R rating version of it, but it's never come to fruition. Hopefully it does after the success, like the critical success of stuff like Shape of Water. Was it called Shape of Water? I don't know. I'm not a big fan. I think that movie's okay at best. But I love his previous other work, so there you go. But yeah, solid manga so far. We'll see how it wraps up, but the cover's amazing, the art's incredible, so it's well worth your time if you're into horror, especially Lovecraft horror. And it's not very anime-y, it's very distinctive, so I would say even if you're not a fan of manga or like the anime style, this will appeal to you if you're just a fan of Lovecraft or horror in general. Alright, next up we have is Her Majesty's Swarm Volume 1 light novel. I read this one. Basically the premise is there is a professional or a professional, essentially StarCraft or Warcraft player. It's a knockoff game, but basically they're a professional RTS player who play this game, and they always played the Swarm race, and they were good at it, and then they get isekai to this other world where they become the queen. So essentially they're Kaigan with the Zerg. If you're familiar with that, then you know what's that. And she has a leader race to victory, whatever that means, for these monster insects. It's very overlordy. The character's not a good person. The people she supports and follows are not good things. She does terrible things, horrible things, monstrous things. I'm not a big fan of Overlord. I think the best parts of Overlord when it's like cheesy and ridiculous. I'm not so interested in the drama of Overlord. That's why I skipped out on season 2. I believe after the lizard stuff, because I just did not care about anything that was happening in Overlord. It was a guilty pleasure, and once the guilty pleasure stopped being guilty, and when it stopped being pleasurable, I just felt guilty about watching this kind of cruddy, mean story. And Her Majesty's Storm is pretty similar, so I'm not going to continue with this one. Don't care at all about it. I'll probably offload this at some point because I just don't like it at all. It's not the worst thing I've ever read. In general, it might be the worst. The Leave No Trace novel might be worse, but I don't like this one at all. It's too gross, too mean, not really interesting to me. None of the characters are likable. The writing's very flat and plain, and she's very overpowered with an overpowered race of monsters. So it's kind of hard to feel emotional investment because they're just stomping over everything and ruining everything. There's no stakes, there's no drama. All the characters are bugs, so who cares for the most part? Or at least most of the characters are bugs, so who cares? And the characters who are like actual named characters are so one-dimensional in terms of I'm the queen, I'm the knight. Like it doesn't matter. Don't read this. I don't recommend it. It's not good. Moving on, this is an older one, Classroom of the Elite Volume 4.5. Now this completes my Classroom of the Elite collection. I got seriously into Classroom of the Elite where I just bought all the light novels I could. But 4.5 was the only one I had to buy digitally because it was out of stock everywhere. Finally, it came back in stock at Barnes & Noble. I got it, so my Classroom of the Elite collection is complete. Unfortunately, the book release schedule is really slow, and a lot of them got delayed, unfortunately. But it's absolutely one of my favorite light novels. I really love it. Highly recommend it. You should know what the Classroom of the Elite is. If not, check out some of my earlier videos of that. I'll probably be doing a mid-tier review or a year 1 review once it's the year 1's finished and we get into year 2. But I love Classroom of the Elite. The anime is a little sus. It changes a lot of things for the worst, by far the worst. It's not like the worst thing ever, and it got me into an amazing light novel series, so how bad could it really be, honestly? Alright, and we have the first 2 volumes of the Elder Sister-like one. This is a weird one because it started off as a R18 plus manga or doujinshi geared towards adults, but then they surprisingly got official publishing for a toned down version. Basically there is this kid who is an orphan who stumbles upon some magical demon stuff and summons as a demon creature, the elder sister-like one. I forget her official name. I'm really bad with names, as you're going to tell through most of this stuff. But summons her, and she asks, do you have one wish for summoning me, or do you have one desire? It's like, I want to have a family. I want to have a sister. And so this is kind of the story of that. There's some weird stuff still. It's a little fetishy a little bit with the elder sister concept, but it's also kind of a warm story of like two loners and two people who have been abandoned or discarded or hated or like basically just cast aside by society, kind of finding comfort in each other as a family. So I'm curious. To be fair, it's not a real family, so I mean that part's a little strange, but the art's amazing. The art's incredible. I always wondered, because some of the doujinshis I've read have amazing art, I was always wondered, well, if these people became official, like they would make some amazing art, like regular manga art. And I think this is one of the proofs of something like that. It's a very small book, but every page has incredible art in it. So it's definitely an acquired taste, but I like it quite a bit. So I'm going to keep on with it. Next up is the first volume of Blood on the Tracks. This is a pretty infamous one. I was going to do a Halloween video on some of the best horror in manga. Unfortunately, I just didn't get caught up and stuff didn't arrive on time. As you can see, the stuff I didn't get till the end of October or mid-October, so I wasn't able to study in time for it. But hopefully that'll be next year. But I'm not sure how I feel about this. Basically, as a high-level concept, it's about a close relationship between another weird family one. Close relationship between a son and a son and his mother, and super close, where he gets picked on by his friends and everything for how protective and overprotective she is. It's very slow, not a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of atmospheric visuals and sights and sounds, but not a lot of dialogue or talking. It's a lot of characters looking at each other, looking at faces and stuff like that. The end has, it's not, you don't have a lot of reason to read it until the very end, when it's like, oh, now the story is popping off. I think I'll keep up with this series. I'm not super excited about it, but I've heard so many good things about it that I'm curious if it can live up to it. It's an interesting concept, and I'm curious to see how far it goes and how crazy it goes potentially. It's hard to imagine the story being ridiculous because it's so down tempo and so realistic. But after that explosive ending, I'm really curious to see how things develop, and hopefully things just get swept away and then there's no real development, and then it's like, oh, now the end of volume 2 is like, oh, finally something happens. Like, guys, just stay interesting. But yeah, that's it. That's how I feel about Blood on the Track so far. All right, and we have volume 7 of The Witch and the Beast. This one I've talked a lot about. This is amazing. Probably apart from Berserk, the best dark fantasy manga I've ever read. Another great volume, a lot of excellent developments, great character moments. Just go read Witch and the Beast. There's really not much else for me to see because it's volume 7. It's gonna be a spoiler, but it's excellent. Go read it, please. It's fantastic. Just read Witch and the Beast. Buy Witch and the Beast. Get it popular. It's amazing. Incredible art, incredible world, incredible story. Great characters. Still waiting for a lot of the developments and for them to get dimensional, but that movement has started and has been slowly starting throughout. But it's a really fascinating cast. I'm really curious to see how they develop further. So just go read Witch of the Beast. That's all I gotta say. All right, and we have volume 3 of Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling is a story I've already read. I believe the first 100 chapters or so. But I want to support the official release of it because not only do I love Solo Leveling, but I want to support more manhwa getting translated and print bound and everything. Like, it'd be cool if I could buy Tower of God as physical print. Even Tower of God has a whack ass art style. I still love the story, and I still hope that gets a season 2 of the anime, because it's much preferable to watch the anime of Tower of God than reading it, because the art is horrible. I'm sorry, and Tower of God. But anyway, Solo Leveling has amazing art and has a great story, and this is kind of the end point here, is where the story really kicked off for me. I felt like, all right, now we're talking. Now we got a story. It's an incredible twist. Don't want to get into too much spoilers about it, but you should go check out Solo Leveling. I'm sure you have at this point. It's one of the probably the most talked about manhwa story, apart from like High School of was it High School? I think it is. See, I watched that whole show and I already forgot what the title of it is, or Tower of God. Those are kind of the big 3 manhwas that I know of, at least. But Solo Leveling is legit. Go check it out. It's great. I will say volume 3 kind of ends where the story starts getting really interesting and really good, but just keep up with it. It's fantastic. I will, because I want to support it. All right, and we got books 2, 3, and 4 of Rascal Does Not Dream. Now, this is not based off, but this is the light novel which inspired the anime Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Each volume of the novel is kind of like Haruhi with a different title, but you know it by Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, because it's such a expressive title. Well, everything else is like Rascal Does Not Dream of a Logic Witch and stuff like that, or Devil Petite Kohai, and like it's Bunny Girl. We know what's called. It's Rascal. You call it Rascal, or you call it Bunny Girl if you're a fan. So this is just volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4 essentially of it. Above the first volume, it's basically just more of what I love. I will say the story loses a bit from the incredible voice acting in the show, which I think is the main standout. It's not an incredibly well animated show, or it's not an incredibly well directed show, but I think, and like the cinematography is average at best for the most part, but the dialogues and writing is next tier shit, like really good stuff, and the voice acting is also next level high tier shit. So I'm just following this along to support the show. Hopefully we get a season 2. It looks like there's a lot of books past the point of where the movie Rascal Does Not Dream of a Dreaming Girl ends. So I'm really hoping we get a season 2, because it's good stuff right there. All right, and then the next one is a weird one. So this is Sekiro side story Hanabi the Undying. This is based off basically an early character in Sekiro who is basically your training dummy, who teaches you some of the early mechanics, lets you test weapons, damage, stuff like that, skills and abilities. He's an undying training dummy, but who's also a person, so this is kind of his backstory. Sekiro is probably my favorite From Software game. As a preference, I have finished every From Software game apart from Demon Souls, because Demon Souls, I did not get attached to it at all when I first played it when it first came out, and I bought that game. Also, I didn't have easy access to a PS3, so that didn't help either. Hopefully, one day PS4s will become available to buy, so I can actually try out the new Demon Souls, the remade Demon Souls, because it's the one hole in From Software Souls catalog that I have. Finished all 3 Dark Souls games, finished Sekiro, finished Bloodborne. I hope Bloodborne comes on the PC, because that game has garbage. I try to go back to Bloodborne. That game has garbage frame rate just throughout the whole game. It's really rough, and it makes me more appreciative of my Sekiro playthrough, which I did on the PC. And it just runs beautifully, runs perfectly. It's a beautiful game, and Sekiro is probably my favorite of the FromSoft series. I didn't think another non-direct Souls-like game could make me feel the same way about Souls, of discovering it with a game clicking, me mastering it in the same way that Dark Souls did and Bloodborne did. Well, I didn't love Bloodborne as much because it felt like a retread a little bit, without a lot of distinctive characteristics apart from the world, where the world's amazing and everything, but I was just kind of playing it like a regular Souls-like game. The weapon variety was kind of weak for me. I just used a saw cleaver throughout all of it because it just felt like the best one. So it just didn't feel like it had the depth and dimension of the Souls games. But Sekiro tricks you a little bit into thinking it's a regular Souls game, but it's not. It has this very unique, almost rhythm game feeling to it. And there was a certain battle in it, which I forget the name of the character, but he's the one at the top of the tower that you fight, where everything just clicked, and suddenly I was in it. I was in Sekiro. I got that click. I got that like almost mechanical feeling of like coming to terms and understanding something and mastering it, and felt like a new game to me. It felt like a new world, a new experience, which I didn't think From Software could do again, and they did. Not only with Dark Souls 1, which was originally the thing that blew me away, but Sekiro. And I'm hoping Elden Ring does the same thing with its take on the open world genre. So I'm really happy and excited for Elden Ring. I wanted to support Sekiro. Read the story. It was a good time. It wasn't anything amazing. Kind of most of these like video game adaptation stuff I'm very rarely impressed by, but it's fun. He's a side character who doesn't really have a lot of meat or a lot of purpose in the plot or the direction of the story, but it's fun to get just a little bit, see a new side of the world in the game that I love, which I think is the point of most of the stuff. So I highly recommend it. If you like Sekiro. If you don't, there's really not much for it. You might get a little bit lost, honestly, like all this immortal talk and everything like that. So check it out if you like Sekiro. And then we have the first volume of the light novel of Reign of the Seven Spellblades. Back when I was first exploring light novels and figuring out, how do I go outside my comfort zones? How do I read ones that haven't gotten adapted as anime before? What's the best out there? What does the world of light novels have to offer me? The one I came to was Tearmoon Empire, which is incredible. The other was Reign of the Seven Spellblades. Still haven't read it, just have it. Excited to get into it. Hopefully the person I got, and the people I got my recommendations from, hold up on this one as well. Even if they don't, I still got an amazing one, Tearmoon Empire, but high hopes for this one. even though I don't know much about it, honestly. Next up, I got volume 2 of Goodnight, Punpun. I talked about this in the reading log video. Did not like volume 1 very much, but loved volume 2. I think the story clicked for me, and I can see why people love it now. So I'm going to keep on with it, but if you want to hear more in-depth talk about it, spoilerly talk with it, check out the reading log video. Alright, and we have the first 3 volumes of Goblin Slayer. I have the first volume of the manga. Goblin Slayer was an anime where I don't think it was very good. At best, above average, I would say. But I thought there was a really good art style there and a really good story potentially that maybe the anime wasn't able to bring to fruition. The manga at least proved on the art style side of it. Hard to tell about the story. I believe I talked about it in my reading log video, so go check that out if you want more details about that. But when I was trying to get into the Goblin Slayer original canon, which originally is the novel, people just said read both, or one's better. It was hard to get a definitive answer on which one to check out. I'm hoping to create that consensus of my own. We'll see how long I stay with it. Maybe Goblin Slayer will throw me off eventually, but at least wanted to take this exploration on my own time. So I have the first 3 volumes because they're on sale, I believe. So we'll see how that works out. All right, and then I have the first volume of The Girl I Saved on the Train Turned Out to Be My Childhood Friend. It's on the back of the book. It's zero stress, zero drama for the low stakes romance, sweet romance story. I like these. Typically, my favorite one right now is The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten. I think that story's great. It's a really good time. Something I can read at work and de-stress and chill with some fun characters and fun little romance. This one don't like as much. I think the 2 main characters are kind of annoying. Basically, I don't even have to explain the plot because it's right in the title for this stuff like this. But it's so blatantly obvious the girl likes the main character and he's so oblivious to her. It worked for that's annoying. It worked for me in Angel Next Door Supposed to Be Rotten because of how the characters interact and stuff like that, where the girl has said the only reason I'm with you is because I feel comfortable you won't do anything or try to pull anything with me. And that kind of starts the restraint of the main character. It's like, oh, she doesn't actually like me. She just feels comfortable and safe around me, so I'm an easy get. Whether that's true or not, the story explores, and I think it's a really smart way of framing this. While this one, the main female character, there's none of that pretense. She obviously likes him, and she's just really annoying about how she decides to hide that, or drops hints, and he doesn't get them because he's an idiot, which all these protagonists seem to be for the most part, which the main character in Angel is not. So that's one thing. He's very insightful, which probably means he reads too much into it, while the main character in Childhood Friend Train is not. He's just an idiot. I don't think I'll be continuing this one, honestly, off of this. It gives me the light fluff that I like, but not very good version of it. It's just kind of mediocre. So I probably won't be continuing with this one. Then we have the first volume of Neon Genesis Evangelion. This is part of a larger project that I want to experience Evangelion in its full for the most part. I'm not going to check out the games and stuff like that. I'm just going to check out the main stuff, which seems to be the original anime series, End of Evangelion, the Rebuild movies, and then the manga. I know there's novels, there's video games, stuff like that. I don't care. I'm reading what I consider the base canon to understand Evangelion's universe. I have a very complicated history and a video I want to do about it with the Evangelion series, and the manga will be the end of that. Unfortunately, a lot of it's out of stock in weird places, and I haven't finished this first volume yet. It's kind of something I'm slowly reading through on my own time, but there are other things that are higher priority. But I do eventually want to talk about Evangelion because I think I have some unique perspectives on the series and unique things that might annoy people, but also same time might encourage new discussion and thought around Evangelion, which I hope so. So that's that. Next up, I have another episode S/O, I think, or 0. These are the original source material for the another anime, which is what I would consider probably the only good horror anime that I've ever seen. It's even great, I would call it. It's really exciting, really great, very atmospheric. Remind me a lot of John Carpenter's The Thing, and if you remind me of that and are capable in your own right, you're probably amazing. And I remember another being great, generally great. I'll have to rewatch it eventually, and I wanted to go back to the original source material for it because I want to talk about another in more depth. And so to fill that out, I wanted to check out another and the sequel novel, another episode S/0 or O. So yeah, more on that. Haven't read it yet, but more on that when I get to it. And then I have the first 2 volumes of Card Captor Sakura. I forget what the name of the edition of this is. I don't think it's called Perfect Edition. Maybe it's like the Clear Card or something. I forget what the name of the special edition of this is. But Card Captors was a very important series to me when I first was a kid, because I would watch the anime. I even have the book. I should have grabbed the book, but I don't have it right now. But I have a book where I bought from Blockbuster, which was on clearance sale, where it's a Card Captors book with all the cards in it, like full size. It's amazing. And I saw these when I first was starting to get to manga. I would go to Barnes & Noble and look, and I saw these amazing, beautiful hardcover editions of Card Captors. I was in love with it. I had to read it, and I want to collect these. They're not a huge priority for me, but they're one of my kind of white whale goals. I want to eventually have this whole Card Captor series collected, at least the original series. I don't know about, I think the sequel series called Clear Card. I'm not sure about that, or I'll get to it. I think it's a sequel series, but at least this hardcover stuff I want to collect, because Card Captors is so important to me. I've read the first 2 volumes. It's amazing art, great story. Remember exactly why I love it. It's very funny. I love Card Captors and Card Captor Sakura, and this continues on with that. So I think going back to watching anime might be a little bit hard, but it's a lot easier for me to read it. So I think this is the best way for me to re-experience that nostalgia that I have for the series. So yeah, that's awesome. It's cool. Beautiful editions. Great oversized book, which I love. I'm basically, you can buy it as a collector's edition or an oversized thing or a special edition, I'm a sucker for that stuff, and I will get that 100% all the time, even if it's a worse version or not the ideal way to read it. I know some people are mad about the Attack on Titan Colossal editions, which, next up, Attack on Titan Colossal Edition 6. I haven't read it, haven't got to it yet, kind of working slowly my way through it. I originally wanted to get caught up with the manga before the end season of the anime came out, but that's not going to happen. So I'm kind of just reading on my own time. Some people don't like these editions because they're soft print, not hardback. But I don't care. If it's oversized, if it's a special edition, I'm going to buy it. I don't care. I'm a sucker for this stuff. And I skipped through it a little bit, and there's some material in there that is part of the next season. And I'm trying so hard not to read it, but I feel like I might be too weak. I might actually just read ahead and see what's going on there. I hope I won't, but the weakness is there. Knowing it sitting on my shelf, staring at me, is intimidating. So we'll see how that goes. And last but not least, this is kind of the big, most expensive thing I bought here, which was the deluxe editions of Sword Art Online, the novel. This is a 2-volume thing from Yen Press, where it has this almost encyclopedia style, where I think I show it more in the video that you're going to see accompanying this, but it has 2 lines per page. So it's basically 2 pages smashed together on 1 page, and these first 2 volumes include the first 20 novels of Sword Art Online, including stuff that hasn't been adapted yet, which I believe is called Moon Cradle. I'm not even caught up to Alicization. Last time I watched SAO, I did go see the Progressive movie this couple weeks ago, and I loved it. It was fantastic. I know Sword Art Online people, it's a very cool thing to hate Sword Art Online, but I love Sword Art Online. I don't care. Sword Art Online, without Sword Art Online, I would not have been into anime. I watch stuff like Parasite and stuff like Attack on Titan when they're recommended to me by friends, and as someone who knew what anime looked like, who was never into it, and made fun of it, Attack on Titan did not look like anime to me or seem like what like the stereotypical anime is. Parasite didn't either. And so it wasn't until a story like Sword Art Online came around, at least for that first Aincrad arc, that made me an anime fan. It looked like an anime, it had anime tropes in it, it had dumb power fantasy shit, it had a ridiculous isekai concept, but I fell in love with the anime because of Sword Art Online. So even how shit it becomes at certain points, and SAO has a lot of faults, I still owe everything to Sword Art Online for me finding love with fiction again. At a time in my life where I fell out of love with video games and fell out of love with regular fiction, science fiction and fantasy fiction. I fell out of love with that stuff, and without anime and without manga and light novels, I would have been in a pretty dark place. So, and SAO was the stuff that brought me that peace and reconciliation and forward momentum to re-enter fiction and critical analysis of stuff like this. So I want to support that stuff. It's something that I'll slowly consume because it's so hard to read. I don't want to take it with me to work, and such is so expensive. I don't want to take it with me to work, and because of how difficult it is to read and how close you kind of have to have it to read the pages because they're such small print. This isn't something I'll blast through. It'll take my time with it, read it when I feel like it. and I'm okay with that. I still love Sword Art Online regardless, despite all of its many issues, and I'm sure you'll hear me talk about it in the future because I want to expand upon those ideas going forward. But that's it for my manga and light novel haul for the month of November. It was a long one. Looking at this video length already, it's like pretty intimidating to edit, at least, but it was a really exciting one with a lot of cool stuff, a lot of stuff. So I hope you folks enjoyed what I got. Let me know what you got in the month of November, what you thought of the stuff that I got, and we can talk about that stuff in the comments. Be sure to like the video to encourage me to keep doing this stuff, and to know that I'm on the right direction. If you don't think I'm going the right direction on this stuff, please leave a comment so I can read and adapt to whatever you would prefer to watch. Comment, like we talked about, why it's so important, and to subscribe so you can follow the stuff that I do. I know I am a smaller channel, and my aspirations aren't to become a big channel or anything like that, or become a de facto manga and light novel person. But it helps to know that people are watching and people are interested and people care. That's all I really ask. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great holiday season. Basically, when I'm recording this video, Christmas is right around the corner. Holiday season is right around the bend. We'll be done for shortly, with New Year's right around the corner after that. So have a great one. I hope to have another video out, but we'll see when that is. Hopefully I'll finally do a review of the Quintessential Quintuplets, which is kind of my big white whale right now. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens after that, and greeting us into the new year, including a December manga haul. Not sure about what reading log videos are going to look like in the future, but it is what it is. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day. Bye.